Okay, let's get to the beginning of time and space. Is everything had a point of origin? What do you believe? How do you believe everything came to be?
It's also another one of those things where it's like, if you think about it too much, it doesn't really, you end up finding out that it doesn't really matter. We're all here, already. So I mean, obviously you're bound to think about it, but in general, the Big Bang theory, it seems like it, could be possible. I mean, it sounds logical. I'm a pretty logical person, so if it sounds logical, I'll probably go along with it.
Okay.
And then everything evolved from there. We all share DNA from a single-celled organism at one point, and then evolved from that, and branched off, and basically evolved from apes. But most people don't like to hear that, especially in this group.
Yeah, I saw a couple of pitchforks back there. They'll get you out back afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay. Now we're gonna have questions pretty soon. Actually, after this next question, we'll have time for questions.
Okay.
But I'm glad you have a question. That's great. Hey, one more question before we take questions. What do you believe about death? What happens when we die?
Nothing. There's nothing after that.
So you exist for the amount of time that you're alive, and then just you die, and so.
Well,
is your spirit.
I think in general, the thought of an afterlife is it's just a comforting feeling, in my opinion, and that's why people like it.
Okay.
It's we were talking once, and I said that, and you said that, well, isn't that kind of sad? You thought that's kind of depressing, and I said, well, I mean, that doesn't mean it's not true. Just because something's depressing doesn't make it not true.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we've talked a lot about this. So, okay, and now we have time for questions. You had a question, Chu.
Well, it wasn't really a question. I was going to talk about the beginning of time sort of thing, and Big Bang, time itself, everything has a beginning and an end. So, Big Bang, atoms hit each other. We're here. Where did the atoms come from?
I mean, I'm not personally a scientist, so I don't know that, but. I mean, to tell you the truth, there could have, be multiple galaxies where, this galaxy was created at a certain time, and then, who knows when existence started, it's taboo, there's really no way to tell when it started or when it didn't start, or when there was nothing and when something happened, I mean, all atoms had to come from somewhere, but who knows, maybe there was such a thing as the beginning of when the atoms started showing up, which who knows how those, you may have a theory about how those atoms came, but in my opinion, it doesn't, I may not know, but I don't think that the way you guys think it is the right way, personally.
Cool.
Can I continue on with that part? Honestly,
sure. Yeah, talk real loud though. So
okay, yeah. So, kind of what we believe is God's always been there, and if you want to say everything has beginning and end, since God created time, before that He's always been there. So after He created that, then you could have things start having beginning and ends. So that's where your atoms could come from. Because I
understand what you're saying, but I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know. It's just so out there for me. It's just
okay. That's right.
It's just out there, And I believe that science can't, just because science doesn't prove something right now, doesn't mean that they can't in the future.
Cool. In the back.
Without God, what do you feel like you're living for? Your purpose in life?
To be happy, to make other people happy, to coexist with other people. Just because there aren't consequences for my actions from a higher source doesn't mean that I have to be a bad person, I can just be a good moral person just because I'm a human being, and I believe that every other human being has the same rights as I do.
So you don't feel like there's a higher purpose to live for?
Not really. I mean, that's another thing that Dennis says is pretty sad, but just because it's sad doesn't make it not true.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Parker.
Do you believe in sin?
I believe there are bad things, but in the truest form, sin, you know, in the truest form of the word sin, you know, I mean, I believe there are immoral things that people shouldn't do and that people should be punished for, but I think those should be either, you know, nature's decision or, you know, us as a society deciding what is morally wrong and what those punishments should be.
Go.
Hi. Okay. Hi, I'm Nikki.
Uh,
I just feel like it's a random person. Anyway, so do you believe that faith and evolution can like come together? Because like I don't know, I'm a big science person, so like I'm the type of person who really is like looked into evolution, and I honestly believe that faith and evolution can come together. Do you see that in that same way?
I would like that to happen. Yeah, I think it would be better for society because it's definitely it would bring people together, which is one of those things that religion does, in my opinion, that I don't like about it. So, in general, I think it'd be a good thing, but realistically, I don't think it'd happen because usually the higher up people in it, they're so set in their ways that they just don't want to, you know, give any leeway with what they believe. So that's just it's if it happens, I think it's going to be way after my lifetime. But
Well, even regardless of like what the church people say, because there are Christian evolutionists out there who
yeah,
say,
but I mean, it's not the majority. So
yeah, but I mean, like, what about you personally? Like, what if you said, okay, evolution is true, but maybe you could like, how do I phrase this? Maybe like, God made humanity through evolution, but just because it wasn't a quick miracle doesn't necessarily mean it was a It wasn't a miracle.
I'm not saying that, you know, if there is some way to prove that he exists, then I probably would, you know, I probably believe in him. I mean, that's it. You know, it's basically they can't prove it. You know, it's not logical enough at this point in time for me to believe in it.
I like that last comment you just made. So you're open to the concept of God.
Yeah, I mean,
You're just,
that'd be you know, that'd be a thing that I'd probably be into if I could be you know, closer to 100% sure. You know,
okay.
At this point I'm 10%. You
Yeah,
know, like
I like
10%. I kind of like barely think it's even possible. You know, like
Yeah.
maybe, you know, 1 in a trillion chance that it is.
Cool. I like that.
Okay.
We're
some
making
more
progress.
questions? Yes, we are. We are getting into the discussions.
Slow so I can get to them.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow, that's a lot of hands up. Okay, let's work our way back this way. So we're starting with Zach.
Okay, Pastor Rick Warren was once interviewing an atheist that was much like you, who didn't believe in a God and believed that there was nothing in the afterlife. And he made this quote of, I would rather believe in God and be wrong and have nothing happen to me than be wrong and go to hell. What are your comments or thoughts on that?
Okay. Well, in general, it's like, why should I live my life in fear of something that is so uncertain?
There's a bug.
I was like, what? What did I say? Did I offend somebody?
Sorry.
No problem. But yeah, so I mean, if I'm living my life in fear, then I'm not living to the standards of life that I think I should. You know, and that's kind of a bad argument in the sense that it's an extremist argument. You know, it's like you're not really looking at both sides of the coin. You know, it's like, you know, you're basically telling him one scenario, you know, and saying that that you don't give him really another choice, if that makes sense.